Hey Kyle, it's Blair checking in from LA. I'm on a walk right now wearing my big puffy coat that I usually only wear when I'm back east, but it's like 48 degrees today in LA, so I wanted to thank you so much for the podcast. Walking and listening to these podcasts always brings me a lot of joy, so I hope everyone is making space for joy today. Take care.
Hey Blair, thanks for sending that in. Glad to hear you're staying warm on that chilly day. If anyone else wants to send a voice memo in to be featured on this podcast, bust out your phone, record less than a minute of audio, let us know who you are, where you're listening from, some details about what it looks like where you are. And if we play it, we will send you a free box of mud. You can email voice memos to podcast@mudwtr.com. Welcome to Trends with Benefits. My name is Kyle Tierman. Here we offer you short-form podcasts, little microdosed bits of wisdom to take into your day. You can also head to trendswithbenefits.com to read all kinds of great articles about psychedelics, well-being, and adventure. This episode is with none other than Hans Valor. Hans's art moves effortlessly between the bold and the simple, between stark structure and fluid motion, inviting viewers to move beyond their ordinary reality. His paintings evoke bold action and reaction, coaxing the viewer into the multi-dimensional dialogue that speaks from and to the heart. Please welcome to the show, Hans Valor. So you've lived in LA for 12 years now?
Off and on, yeah. I moved away in the middle of that to India for half a year and then down to Australia for a little bit and then ended up coming back to Colorado and then back to California.
And did you start painting while you were living in Colorado?
Yeah, I was trained as an architect in school, and I took a lot of painting classes and sculpture and drawing classes, just the basics, and then finished my degree in architecture. And then, everything from there was fairly self-taught, but it was a hybrid of everything that I had learned from, the architectural drafting to the graphic design, and all the processes that are entailed with that, kind of compiled into this like organic hybrid that just, I guess, kind of really created like the style that I have, and why a lot of people have never really seen that before. I'd never really looked at anybody else's stuff to create the style that I have. It was like organic in how it evolved and in the nature of it.
You weren't classically trained?
No. And I think that there's some insecurities around that. I think that there's a lot of sometimes like maybe a little resentment towards pressure from family to get a degree that would lead me to a job that would actually pay me, and so, begrudgingly, I ended up going with the architecture, which gave me a lot of skills and attributes that, contribute to my style now. But, I wonder what it would have been like if I would have went through classical training in art school, and if I would have been at a more progressed place or anything. And I think that I'm probably not alone in thinking that. And I think there's probably a lot of other people that didn't get classically trained in what they do. But I think it does create a very original way of looking at your voice and how you create what you create, and you find a way.
Right. There was no box that you were put in from the beginning.
Yeah, no box. And I think I've kind of like led my artistic career like that in a lot of ways. I have been fairly self-represented I've shown with galleries and done a lot of different shows here and there, but for the most part, I'm an independent artist and a little bit of a lone wolf, and kind of just, create my following through grassroots movements. And a lot of the people that buy my work just find out about it through friends and people that have it on their walls. And I think there's a big West Coast community that kind of originated with, the Burning Man communities and all the offshoots of that really gave me my start in kind of getting my work out there. That was a very non-traditional, outside of the box way, where I wasn't going the gallery route. I've never really gone the gallery route. And I think I was always a little frustrated that a gallery would take half of what I sold my pieces for. And I think a lot of people find that really like just mind-blowing, that an artist is expected to survive after half of the profits are taken away. And so I really always rebelled against that. And I think that was another part of being outside of the box. I was just like, this is not the way I want to live, my life or my career. And it's a bit, it's a bit uncertain. It's not as predictable. And you really have to be out there meeting people and creating community and networking to go that route. But it's worked for me. So,
is there a time of day that you enjoy painting most?
For my whole life, I've always told myself that it's like the witching hours. It's the midnight hours when everybody else goes to bed. And there is a magic to it, that everything gets really quiet and you walk outside and everything's really still. And I can be distracted all day long and be running around. And then I've always wondered if it's like a self-imposed deadline of sleep. Because, you get to the point of the end of the day and you're like, fuck, I got to do something, like, and it's like, I better get something done before I go to sleep. And so it's that sleep deadline that's kind of forced me to get things done. But there's also the quietness in those hours that you just don't find except for early morning, which, now, as we talked about earlier, like I'm looking to try and switch and see if I can still find that magic at the early hours as I get older. And I think it might actually be a little bit more of a healthy approach, but we'll see.
Is art, like when you sit down to paint or draw, does it feel like magic from the beginning?
It can. I would say 95% of the time it doesn't. There's a small percentage where you feel like, if you're getting close to the end of a design and you're polishing it out and you're like, man, this is so amazing. But I would say 95% of the time you sit down and you're just like, man, I'm losing it. I'm losing the edge. Like, fuck, like all these people are, so much better than me. Like, how am I ever gonna, get well known, or just all the self-destructive thoughts. And as we spoke earlier, I think it's a metaphor for so many things in life, as far as the self-critical, just judgmental thoughts that you have to work through, and that sludge that you have to go through and be willing to go through in the beginning. And the other part of it, just literally corralling yourself and sitting down or standing, whatever you do, and just start. And I think that is one of the biggest obstacles, is just starting. And I find so many ways to distract myself, and so many things on my phone, and go surfing, go do this, go do that, got to run all these errands, but literally just starting. And once I'm on it, and once I'm like sitting there, it and making it through like that initial phase that just feels like you're pushing through, like quicksand or something, and just sludge. And once you make it through that and you really persevere, I think is when people talk about these flow states or whatever. I really think it's just perseverance. It's just dedication to make it through the difficult moments. And I think that's such a metaphor for life.
Yeah. The book, The War of Art, talks a lot about how
all about that
art is war.
Yeah.
And the suffering doesn't end. It's just getting better at suffering.
Exactly. And just like, this is your job. Like, this is, and especially as like an artist, you're like, nobody's holding you accountable. It's like, you are the one person that's going to make yourself sit down and do it. Like, you are your boss. You are, this is your dedication. And if you don't just show up and do the work, no one else is going to make you do it. And I think Seth Godin just put out a book called The Practice. And I think that that talks a lot about that too. And being willing to, I think, what did he say? Being willing to do something even if you know you would possibly fail, and still being willing to do it because you just love it so much, and that's what you want to show up and do. And I think The Practice, that book, is another amazing one. I think it came out just a few months ago, that really struck home with me. And that's it. Just show up. And I think so many things in life are that way.